Welcome everyone. Today Market Signals by Career Angels, week 27. What are market signals? Market signals are precursors often to trends. Sometimes they don't mean anything. When the pandemic happened, I personally needed something to understand what is really actually happening on the job market. And one thing we started tracking as a company were published job ads on LinkedIn. So what I'll be sharing now with you are the changes of job ads on LinkedIn over the last weeks. When we look at the data, we look at Index A and Index B. Index A is the Index 18, which are 18 countries that we started tracking in week 16. And Index 36 is tracking 36 countries since week 15 of this year. And we started tracking all European countries since week 17 of this week. As you can see, looking at the EU, we have a plus 9% increase since week 16. In other words, in week 27, so 10 weeks later, there are 384,762 more job ads on LinkedIn than in week 17. And you can see in the numbers above, for Index 18 and Index 36, there is a decrease of -2 and 8%. Index B looks at the weekly and bi-weekly changes. So Index 18, we've seen a bi-weekly change of 500,000 job ads in 18 countries, almost 500,000, so 461,000 in 36 countries, and again, almost 500,000 in the European Union. In other words, looking at a bi-weekly change, there are approximately 500,000 more job ads on LinkedIn for people who are looking for a job. Worth noticing is that when we look at Index 18, there are only 2 countries that published more job ads in week 27 than in week 13, which are Poland and Ukraine. In other words, week 27 is better than week 13 when it actually started. Index 36 tells us that there are half of the countries see an increase since last week, which is a plus 5.55% change in comparison to week 26, and a plus 11% change in comparison to week 25. Compared to last week, it was less than or approximately 40%. So again, the trend is upwards, positive for those countries. Then we look at not only the countries, but we also analyzed the regions within Europe, where we define Visegrad, meaning Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, Northern Europe, Southern Europe, and then I jumped the Baltic states, Iberia, Southeast Europe, Western Europe, the DACH region, and the BENELUX countries. And you can see there is not really a common thread with a couple of outliers. It's Friday, you need to excuse me. So what's important here when we look at the European Union for the past 2 weeks, so week 25 to 27, the European Union has been experiencing a steady incline of the LinkedIn job ad level. Week 27 broke the biggest weekly increase so far, 9.89%. So that's very good, especially looking at the historical data of the last weeks and month. Then when we look at the Baltic states, that's the only region where all the countries have now seen an increase. As you can see, up. Also finally for Estonia. In week 27, the DACH region noted the biggest increase in the number of job ads on LinkedIn. Out of all the regions, Germany with a plus 30, and that's now wrong. So in week 27, the DACH region noted the biggest increase in the number of job ads on LinkedIn out of all the regions, plus 30.15%. And Germany, after placing last in week 26, became a country with the biggest increase in week 27 of all the countries. Look, and that was plus 34%. This is immense. And talking about increases and immense increases and decreases, looking at the countries, France, Germany, Italy, Slovenia, and Ukraine, you can see that their economies and the companies that form part of those economies see a constant up and down. There is no steady thread of either decrease, increase. The only thing we can see that there is dynamic change. So from somebody who is either a candidate on the job market, somebody who actually needs to run a company and make hiring decisions, you can see this has been very dynamic and unstable. The Benelux countries, you can see they disagree to disagree, even if they're on the same kind of ecosystem. Netherlands, more than 15% increase, Belgium slight increase, Luxembourg completely disagree. As you can see, they had a fairly steady increase and decrease level, so they were fairly stable over the last weeks. But then we're now at almost minus 20% in the number of job ads. What else? There are a handful of companies, a handful of countries that continuously are in decrease mode, namely Austria, Finland, Spain, and Sweden. So again, it can be a demanding place for candidates in those countries. Then talking about decreases, between week 15 and week 27, Southern Europe experienced the biggest loss of all the regions at minus 28%. Portugal noted an increase at plus 3.65%, but Italy had the biggest decrease of all the 36 observed countries for the second week in a row at minus 37.31%. And the countries we include in Southern Europe is Greece, Italy, Portugal, and Spain. And now that we've looked at the data, let's look at some quotes that we have obtained from CEOs, board members, and HR. Here we interviewed the head of talent of an international public organization. And this is what he has to say. Before COVID-19, we'd have sometimes only 20 applicants for a post. Not everybody wants to work in the public sector. Now there's a massive increase. For some roles, it's double the amount of candidates. For HR roles, even more. A recent posting received 50 applicants within 12 hours. He then continues, I can see that online interviews are more stressful for candidates because of all the technical challenges. Consequently, their performance is different. The overall candidate experience is different. Not worse, just different. So if you struggle with online interviews or are a senior candidate on a market that is particularly affected, you can always get in touch with Career Angels and ask us for a CV report or a career consultation. Just email bichl.sandra@careerangels.eu and I'll make sure to match you with the most relevant career consultant. Having said that, some people might think, and I've heard it, but Sandra, it's the summer. I mean, is anybody really looking? If you've paid attention, there are a lot of countries that see an increase in job ads. Now that companies have figured out how to move forward, they do want to have hired people that start on September 1st or October 1st. And to get hired by September 1st, you need to participate in recruitment processes over the summer. So please do use the summer break, not as a break, but for productive job search. Where can you do that, among others? You can join the Hidden Job Market on LinkedIn, which is a group dedicated for experienced managers across Europe, where we handpick and select job ads in English with a high likelihood of those companies accepting international candidates. And then, so in that week, so job ad jumps of week 27, for example, Rockwell Automation is looking for a commercial operations director EMEA. VP strategy is sought for Delivery Hero, no surprise there, they're very busy now. And Hayes is currently sourcing candidates for Global Head of Talent and Development. And if you're interested, for this week, we selected 27 hidden gems from LinkedIn. Having said that, last but not least, if you want more, not just a little Snapchat, you can follow daily content on our company website, on our Career Angels on LinkedIn. If you want to know what's going on in the various countries, follow quotes and our interviews, we have a dedicated showcase page on LinkedIn called Market Signals, and you will find their daily updates, as well as a full report on each Saturday afternoon. Thank you very much for listening. See you next week.